This is the Freeheel Life Podcast, episode number 110. I'm your host, Josh Madsen, coming at you from the Freeheel Life Shop in Salt Lake City, Utah. And happy Monday, friends, family, freehealers alike. It's great to be back. So I'm going to hop right into this with the newsroom and notes. There's lots of fun stuff to talk about, and the event season is coming up, so I'm going to recap what we are heading into this week. So I hope you enjoyed last week's podcast, first of all, with Adam Howard, Howie as I know him. He's the owner and publisher of Backcountry Magazine and a fantastic dude. So hopefully you enjoyed that conversation, and if not, go check it out. Next week, I've got Greg Paquin from Bromley, and he's really helping keep things going in Bromley in Vermont. It's a ski area there, and lots of cool history that we talk about. So make sure, if you're not subscribed to the podcast, do that, so you make sure next Monday you can check that episode out as well. So heading into kind of the business side of the house on the news end, I've got news that 22 designs bindings have finally arrived at the shop. It was kind of a delayed process with probably some sort of supply chain issue, but now you can get our number one selling binding on your feet finally. So that's exciting stuff. Make sure to check out freeheellife.com for that, or head to the shop and you can pick up a pair of those. Also, our demo fleet is now up and rolling. So if you're in Salt Lake City, you can demo some fantastic NTN gear, skis, boots, and bindings, and we can get you on the hill for some fantastic knee-dropping turns on the finest equipment available. And be sure to check that out. You can find more details at freeheellife.com on that as well, or email customer service at freeheellife.com. Also, Midwest, Freeheel Life Midwest. We also have demos available out there, and you can link to that information through our website as well, freeheellife.com. All right, so this is the week where things kind of start heating up. We're heading into event season, I guess, as we should call it. There's events all over the world that start happening, gatherings, ski instruction, clinics, that sort of thing. And I've been trying to make sure to bring some awareness to that each week as we head into the podcast episode, so that if it's something near you, you can go check it out. And if nothing else, also, I think it always is nice to keep the blood flowing. And it, you know, if you're someone in your area that would like to see something happen like this, I think this gives us not hope, but I know when I see all this stuff going on, and for the last 2 decades of doing this, I always love this time of year because I realize how many Telemark skiers are out there doing really cool events in their local area, and putting their own time and effort into it. So with that said, this Friday, January 7th, Telemark Ski Ontario up in Canada, Freeheel Fridays are starting at Mount St. Louis. So be sure to check that out. I'll put a link in the show notes to that. Also, same weekend, but on Saturday and Sunday in Western Pennsylvania, near Pittsburgh, Seven Springs is hosting Telepalooza. You can check out telemarker.org for more details on that. Then the following week, January 15th at Pine Knob in Michigan, Freeheel Life Midwest, with our demo fleet I just mentioned, is teaming up with Motor City Tele for a Telemark demo day. So make sure to put that on your calendar. Michiganders, get there, do some knee dropping at Pine Knob. Super stoked to be teaming up with Motor City Tele on that. Then looking into February 26th, we've got the 36th annual Corey Anderson Telemark Festival at Bromley. Like I said, we're going to be talking a little more in detail next week about that in the episode with Greg, and you can get some more information there. It is up on their events calendar for Bromley, so you can check that out, and we'll link it in the show notes as well. Then make sure to mark your calendars for March 6th. This is the annual World Telemark Day celebration, and first Saturday in March. And I just realized that I just said March 6th. March 5th. So March 5th, 2022. It's always the first Saturday in March. I think I probably said that wrong. I might have mistyped that on my notes. So hopefully if you're listening, no one's written me yet and said, hey, you're not saying the right day. So anyways, first Saturday in March is always World Telemark Day. Saturday the 5th. I'm sure it'll go on into the 6th for some of you that are, your op rate just goes all night and then you end up in the next day and you didn't even know it. And so it just becomes World Telemark Weekend rather than World Telemark Day. So we'll just say that, World Telemark Weekend, first weekend in March. But super excited about that. It's really fun to see all the people come out from around the world and get stoked on the best turn on snow. All right, so that's all I got for newsroom and notes this week. If you have an event coming up, please email me, podcast@freeheellife.com. Let me know what's up. Just give me the basic details, and I'll give it the plug that it deserves. And I probably, by the end of this, I'm probably going to be doing an entire list every week. So that's what we want, though. We want to see this grow. Thank you for picking up the torch if you're one of those people in your areas. And we will be, if you're someone who really has a burning desire to get people together, World Telemark Day is the best way to do that, because you just need to have a meetup spot. You don't have to formalize it or anything like that. And we'll talk about that more as we kind of head towards March. So that's all the good business side of the house. Today, I have a fantastic guest. He was born in 1940 in Austria and learned how to ski from his father at a very young age. By the early 1960s, he began to pursue alpine ski instructing in Europe, and in 1963, he was invited to visit Japan for the first time with some other instructors to observe ski teaching techniques. By 1983, he saw the movie Freedom of the Heels, which introduced him to the telemark turn. He was immediately hooked on learning more about it and how to do it himself. Over the years, he's helped organize a network of like-minded telemark skiers from the region for races, gatherings, and the like. And aside from his contributions to telemark in Europe, he's also an avid ski historian and continues to research an array of topics related to snow sliding. Please welcome my good friend, Arno Klein. All right, Arno, welcome to the Freeheel Life podcast. How are you, man?
Oh yeah, that's nice. So we have got plenty of snow now, even in the northeast of Austria.
Oh,
beautiful.
It's snowing. It's snowing here too. So finally, it took.
Really, no, it's not so normal. But this again, we had in the Hollabrunn woods and forests, we have beautiful 20 centimeters. This is which is very nice.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Well, I wanted to, before we kind of get into it, where we met, I haven't seen you in a long time. I think the last time I did see you was in Morgedal. We actually met in Norway. And that was probably back in, honestly, it's probably been almost 10 years since I've seen you. So
exactly, yeah. It was 13th of March, as the photo shows me.
Okay. Yeah. No, it was a long time ago. And I remember everybody, telling me, you got to meet Arno. He knows lots of ski history and I love history. So I was like, okay, I got to meet this guy. So I'm excited to have you on the podcast and kind of get to know a little bit more about your story. For people that don't know you, so you're from Austria originally. Tell me a little bit about where you grew up. You grew up in Austria, correct?
I'm Austrian, yes. I was born in 1940 at home. It was a home birth at that time. And my father was taking movie one hour after after I come on this world, up to this world, he took a cine movie.
Really?
Still I have it.
Oh.
Yeah, this is funny. This is cool, yeah. And my sister, my brother, they had been in this one room, and they have been looking over there and said, hey, boy or girl or boy? They asked. Yeah, really. They told me. It was told by my parents. Yes. My parents are still dead. They are dead since years. But my wife's parents, her father was in 16, he was 102.
Wow.
And my mother-in-law, my wife is now in Pisting to visit her. She is going to have 101 and in April 102.
Wow.
So she's still okay. She could drive a car if she wants, yes. So she is very clear in her head. She starts talking about what was between the 30s and 40s. Now she gets a little bit tired, okay? But her head still brainy, very good.
Wow, that's amazing. What a wealth of knowledge. And so what town were you born what town were you born in Austria? Like, was it I haven't traveled around Austria too much. I mean, there's obviously a lot of mountains, but so was your town in the mountains or not?
No. I was born in about 50 kilometers north of Vienna. It's called wine area, but there is a but. My father came from the very west, from Vorarlberg, yeah, and he was a skier. He took a lesson in 1924, 5 must be, on the St. Christoph Alberg, where also Hannes Schneider was once a week as a big face on the table as a lecturer. And he was a student of biology in Vienna, and there had been started some courses for students on the Alberg in skiing. So this was some sort of new brand for students. And my father was he started his first years in the northwest of Vienna. There he met my mother, and he, because he was non-conformist, he was a no-Nazi, and he did not make the hand up to say hello, Heil Hitler. No, and so he had to go. They pushed him away from his school in Klosterneuburg, and once they said yes, no, next morning, Monday, you have to go to Hollabrunn, and there you start to teach. So I'm going to be a Hollabrunn born child. Man.
Wow.
So this is my hometown. My elder sisters had been born in Klosterneuburg, which is about 10 kilometers north of northwest of Vienna. But he was transferred. He had to move to Hollabrunn in 1940. He was a bad boy at that time, you know?
Right.
He was non-Nazi.
Right. So they pushed him out to another town then.
Not like the Vorarlberg, they say, no, we don't. Yes. But Hannes Schneider was also such a type. And they took him his ski school at that time in St. Anton, the Nazis. They pushed him. And he was for 4 weeks. He was in prison in Landeck, and then the Kaya, Madame, she was a student in a ski school. She was American, and they started to take him out. Also, Sir Arnold Klein. They had been strong persons, and it was successful to get this nice chap Hannes Schneider out of this Germany, out of Europe. And then he came to America, to Cranmore, to start a new life. he was very sad about Austria. He didn't come early back to his home. He was really sad about these Nazi people.
Yeah. Wow. And I mean, yeah. And you being born in 1940, I mean, your first 5 years of life were, I mean, in a pretty crazy time. I mean, did it take a while? Like, I mean, when are your first memories of going in the mountains and skiing with your father?
This Hollabrunn is in some rolling hills, you know. So started really to ski a little bit, and there's one thing. Yes, we started. And it was then in the early 50s. So when I was 10, 11, 12, my father got raw skis from the very west, from Kestle, Anton Kestle skis. This had been ash skis, you know, just raw skis. So we put some edges on, we put some what's called some paint on the surface. We screwed some Subicanda bindings. So this had been our first, better skis at that time, yeah, after the war, besides the very easygoing skis. So these had been good skis but we did finish them skis.
So you actually had to build the edges and paint the tops and everything?
Yeah. We had the what's called a hobel to get the 8 millimeters on each side, the wood off, and then we screwed these 20 centimeters edges with some little screws, you know.
Yeah.
This was a time when after the war, my father started to organize on the gymnasium, on the grammar school, you know, the school from 10 to 18. He started to organize ski weeks. The first ski was 1952, and I had the chance to go in every year 8 times for ski week. So that week included who has skis, who has a little bit money, who has a rucksack, you know. So we went from the 10 to 17 years old, 18 years old boys and girls. We set out for a week. There's also a film from 1952.
Wow.
A short movie. Yeah.
And
it was called Summer Ski Kurs, collected from the whole school. Collected, not this class or that class, like now or later. So it had been about, I think, 20 people to put them out. And we went to Steiermark, Styria, for the first ski week in 1952.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it really was like, yeah, I mean, really your whole life, I mean, you're around skiing, your dad's organizing these ski weeks with the school. And, yeah, I mean, it sounds like it was just part of life, you know, right from the beginning.
It was later job. Of course, when I was after finishing studies like geography and sports, I was working in Hollabrunn Gymnasium, which is, I think, grammar school, you say, 10 to 17, 18 to 18. But besides that, they started to found the technical school from 15 to 19. So I started the first ski weeks there. Then I started to have economic school like this, 15 to 18 or 19. I started to organize there the first ski weeks. And my wife, she was teaching in a school the same type, but for ladies, for girls at that time, just girls. And after 15 years, boys and girls now.
Oh wow!
Took 3 girls to the first ski week.
Wow. So was your I guess as you came out of school, were you working as a teacher? What was your profession, I guess, I don't know if I caught that or not.
I was studying for teacher in geography and sports.
Okay.
And during this time, I made the Salzburg ski instructors exercise. I made the for the university teachers examination. And my wife and me, in 1963, we went to Arlberg to Stefan Kruckenhauser, which is the staatliche Skilehrerprüfung, the fully state licensed ski instructors. It was very high standard, you know. It was the god of skiing at that time, this Kruckenhauser. And Kruckenhauser, his wife made the first year as a teacher in Hollabrunn.
Oh, wow. No way.
So the ski world is really small and very connected.
Right. Definitely. And so you became at that point a ski instructor in Salzburg? Am I
I was ski instructor, the license in Salzburg, but this was also the entrance for the good hire, and I made it in St. Christoph. But in St. Christoph in December '63, there was a telephone call. Hi Arno, a friend was calling, you know. Hey Arno, do you want to go with us to Japan? What are we doing in Japan? '63, you know. Yeah, because Fritz Baumruck, Professor Fritz Baumruck was invited, but he was not in the same line than the official Arlberg ski school was spread about over Austria. So he was not allowed to take all 3 months. He was only for Christmas holidays, and also one of the students. So I had the chance, because I was not working in school. I was so quasi free. So I was 1 week later. I was sitting in the plane to go southbound from Vienna to Athens, to Beirut, to Bombay, to Karachi, to Hong Kong. The old airport. You rush through the houses into the town with a plane, and from Beirut to Tokyo. So this was called southbound. Yeah, there was no polar route, you know, no polar route. So, and we 4 students, friends, and knew them from the studium. Also, they had also the license. They had been 1 year older than me. So in Karachi, in Bombay, we had the ski boots only, and outside it was 40 degrees. The workers pushed the gangway to the plane. You know, it was a turboprop. The gangway with barefoot on the asphalt.
What?
And we went out with skiing wear and with ski boots. It was such a funny thing, you know.
Oh my gosh, that definitely not a direct flight.
Really not.
Wow.
So yeah, it's southbound. It was called, and in Tokyo when we landed, they touched the skis. They come from Austria. It was like Mozart, you know, Mozart Kugel, you know, sweet, and ski from Austria. This was at that time really the heaven on earth. I must say, between in 1910-11, there was from Matthias Starsky, one of his students, was a military officer, later general major, and he was invited to go to Japan in 1910-11. As a late 1910, in the end of November, he came to Tokyo. He had 3 pair of skis. He was a Starsky student, with the first very good book, very organized book, organized skiing, the first really ski Lehrbuch, teaching book. And he had a chance. They put him up to Takata, which is in north coast, Takata, Joitsu City. And there started the alpine history of skiing. I mean, there had been a few stages before. One came from Norway. He was a military. One came from, but they took only their skis, no books, and it was not really spread out. And this Lech, with one pole technique and Starsky method and things, he's still very common in this Japan. I was there 5 times still until now, and I'm very close to this ski club and to the Lord Mayor of Joitsu City, because it's sister town of Lilienfeld in Lower Austria, where Starsky lived and worked with skis. Started in 19 his book was 1896.
Jeez. Yeah? So real quick, Arno. So when you go to Japan, I mean, it sounds like what you're saying. There was some ski culture there already. I mean, yeah. When you went in the 1960s, was it very were there a lot of skiers? Because now in 2021, I mean, we hear about Hokkaido and all these.
So the thing is, there had been in the 1930s was Hannes Schneider there for 1 month. It was gave some input, and then was more or less silence because there had been wartime, pre-war times, and Japan influence, skiing influence go to China. I made a lecture about this, but after the war, there was in 1930, in the 30s, there was Frank filmer. Dr. Frank was filming in Zhao, Yamagata, and in 1952, there is from this tree motif, 2 stamps, I think 8 yen and 12 or 24 yen. In 1952, after the war, they made a stamp in Japan with a motif of 1936. It's fantastic. So then before we came, had been Austrians there, like Stefan Kruckenhauser, Hoppichler, and Rudi Matt also there. Then the racers, Tony Seiler was very he was a big figure. He was a great figure after he won 1956 in Cortinas, his medals. And Tony Seiler was there, I think, 104 times.
Wow.
And he made a film, and he was singing, and he was also skiing in Zhao. So this was from Kitzbühel, a great influence. So Yamagata City, where I also was in the winter, we started 63 in Norikura, and then 64 after the whole winter. I was in Zhao for 6 weeks. So I was connected with that Austrian heritage. It was very nice. We had another technique. We had some closer to now carving. The body mass should be in the same level, not up and down as we had on the Alberg when we had finished our lecture, ski teacher's examination, and there it was the center of mass should not be going up and down. So if you put down the feet, you can go up, and if you crouch down, you put the feet up and the upper body. So this was a very yeah. Um, it's more like the racers now do. They have no time to go up and down.
Yeah, you've seen a lot of change in the years, and I was just thinking, I'm like, we're only talking the 1960s now. I was thinking
it is really fantastic because I went all through these winds and streams of teaching philosophies,
Right.
And at that times, every philosophy had its positive things. So, but the development was going on from the material, from the pistes, until now. So they had been inviting us for students, or this Professor Baumrock, because he was teaching a different technique. With us in the same winter had been Peria, Lacroix, Gotchel sisters in Japan, The Japanese had always an eye, who is something new? Who is bringing something new? It was in their photograph, in photo technique. The rapid mirror was invented in Vienna, but they took it. Minolta, Canon, and Olympus. The mirror, the what's called Halbleiter. The electronics was not invented in Japan, but they made a beautiful start with that sounds, with that technique in the musicians, in the photos, in the techniques, in the cars.
Well,
I
was just going to ask you, so like when you, I mean, obviously learning all these things in Japan, like, do you end up coming back and I know you went there 5 times in your lifetime, but like, so when you travel back to Europe, are you kind of bringing some of these ideas back to Austria and using them in your ski school experiences there? And yeah, maybe explain to me a little bit about that. Like, how many, were you going back regularly, or was it every couple years?
Oh no, I had 2 ways to teach. The one was in my school. The other one was to teach teachers. So in this way, teaching teachers, I could put these new aspects into. And about in the early 80s, then there come the Freeheel.
Yeah.
The Freeheel book. Because it was 1983 when I saw the movie from the Americans. It's called. I have this movie because I saw it they had been in Kitzbühel in February 1883, and I saw that movie, and I was researching, and I got these chaps, Pat Morey, Alan Slade, and these chaps, and I got a contact, and they had forgotten this film, so they put it out very low, very deep in their archives, and I got this film. It's called Freedom of the Heels.
Oh, that's what you saw. I was wondering which one you saw.
Freedom of the Heels.
So 1983 is when you first see Telemark skiing.
Exactly. So this was the start for me. How I was, and there was about 20 seconds in the Austrian TV. I saw this in the TV, from the side, up and down and up and down. Oh dear, this is harmonic. This is like music. This is wow. So I decided to go in this direction. And the third step was I organized in the first summer week in July, the first holiday week in the Lower Austrian schools. I organized a ski week on Kitzsteinhorn in Salzburg, Kitzsteinhorn. And there we started with, we also had tennis and surfing on the lake down. We had monoski, we started with Telemark skis, we started with blizzard airway skis, and we started with many snowboards. My son was doing one snowboard like a he saw it from an American surfing magazine on the backside. How to make a snowboard. He did it. It's a homemade snowboard. I have it. It's with real history. But we had all the snowboards in this world, all the names, like all the brands, we had it. And there I started to Telemark. I went to Kitzbühel. No, I went to Blizzard, which is my home ski firm. We brought the first Blizzard skis to Japan in '63 from this young family factory. And they made at that time Telemark ski for Norway, because Franz Hartwiger was trainer for the Norwegian alpine team. And they did, of course, Telemark besides. Norwegian never stopped in Norway to go freeheel. From long run to cross country to going up, going down. So besides, everybody was doing freeheel. So I had freeheel skis. Manfred Scheider, the Austrian, was a freestyle champ. And Manfred Scheider, I met him on the Kitzsteinhorn, but I must put this bloody thing here better. Yeah, I met him on Kitzsteinhorn, and so I made 2 or 3 days with some organized course at very early. Before that, we tried to do it, to learn it by ourselves.
So this is in the 1980s that you're kind of putting these little courses together?
And later, I put it also as a point in our ski week in Kitzsteinhorn.
Gotcha. So I mean, but it sounds like, I mean, you see this movie in 1983, you kind of start putting gear together, but it doesn't sound like there's a lot of people doing it. I mean, there's very few people.
It was very few because nobody had some equipment.
Right.
You need boots. The binding, Manfred Scheider was taking one from Munich at that time, Schwinnar, Rotter 3-pin or something,
Right.
Willom, the first one was Willom when Willom went up to Rottefeller later. So we're looking when it was that time when long cross-country boots changed to some other systems, from 75 to some other systems, and the sport shop had in the cellar a huge hill with their boots. So I went down to try a medium, a little bit higher, not too weak. Who is that? And so this was the first steps. And later on, we had some small network, and also Kitzbühel. Michi Huber was one point. And we organized in the 90s, starting to really organize ourselves. And then, there had been some sort of races, some sort of events. There was Pinzgauer Telemark Verein, Telemark Club. I was also member, later president. And later, there was I had a chance to teach in 2000. In 2000, I was organizing the first Telemark instructors license in Austria with Austrian Federation, with University Vienna. And so I had at that time some material, skis and bindings and leather boots, okay, 25 leather boots. And also for kids, I had 16 pair of boots for kids. And I got at that time, shorties for the kids, shorties was 1 in 10, 1 in 20, 1 in 30 meter. From Fischer, from Kneissl, was Atomic, Blitzer, you know. From these 4 firms, I got this. And from Garmont, I got the Teledactyl. Yeah.
Yep.
So, and then came we made these Telemark instructors Ausbildung chance. So I was teaching this side, and on the other side in the pedagogic institutes from the 9 countries in Austria. And I was like my car full with 15, 16 pair of skis, 26 pairs of shoes, and some videos and things like this. And I was touring from in the 9 pedagogic institutes to make Telemark for them. Okay,
that's amazing.
It's a hard time, but it takes time. And then there came also, I got a chance to go with Telemark, to go with the racers. For example, with the girls from Spain, from the girls from Bavaria, the girls from Poland. And at that time, one chap was skiing with the racers like Hermann Mayer, and in Zauchensee. I was skiing also with them. So the racers put it in their program in the pre-season, like instrument for technique and orientation and balance and coordination and things like this, All this was Telemark can do with Freeheel. And I also every time writing about this, what my experience had been, I was writing down. So this was the way what I found out to make to some lectures.
Yeah,
I needed the lecture, of course.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I've known you since we met, is kind of as a not only a Telemark historian, but ski historian in general. And I'm sure it sounds like with all you've done with instruction, with getting equipment on people, just networking, getting to know people in the area, going to Japan, you obviously get interested in history, and you're doing these lectures. I wanted to ask you a couple of questions, because as you've kind of researched and studied Telemark, since the 80s and stuff, where do you think, obviously it started, Telemark comes from Norway. We both know that, but kind of in that area where, like in your zone of Austria, do you think you were probably some of the first people doing it in the 80s when it came back, or have you researched anything beyond that, like in the 70s or even before that?
So as far as I know, there was nobody there, because it was the new age of parallel skiing, alpine skiing,
Yep.
So behind their heads, perhaps the cross-country skiers, Langlauf skiers, they had it in their head, far behind in their head, okay? But at the time when I started, there had been 1 or 2, like if you go alone up to the South Pole or to the North Pole, there had been 1 or 2 persons, okay, not connected. Not the network. And I put the network together. I found in every of the 9 countries 1 chap to do like this,
Wow.
So this was sort of like I did with basketball. So I organized basketball event for students, for Austrian school boys and girls. The 13, 14 years of boys and boys and girls. And we had about 350 teams in the high peak season. So this on the other hand. So I learned that from then, and we found for every country some person to do it. But now the next generation will do it.
Yep.
So I am now 80, 81 plus. So last year I was 80, and my friends, they took it over. Dr. Bresch and some team, Martin Rainer and Walter Unterberg. So they are doing it. And last year they made a paper and said, you must come to Vienna. You have time on this term in July somewhere? Yes, I come. So I'm honorary president of this Austrian Telemark.
Oh, that's awesome.
Telemark family. So that's they know me, and they're doing their next way, their own way. You know? So it's nice to see that it still is growing and developing, and the next generation will do the next steps.
I love that.
So what they did, they fully did it, put it into the. I was doing the first interski with Telemark in Pyeongchang, in Seoul, in Korea, and in Crans-Montana, and in Lech. First demonstrations. And they continue. They continue and made it fully up in the Austrian ski organizations.
Yeah, that must be really cool to see it continue on, and yeah. I mean, you have to, at some point you got to pass it on to the next generation, you know, and see what happens, and hope that they carry on the traditions and build it up. Before I forget, Arno, I wanted to bring something up with the research and the history. Is, you know, like I said, we both met in Morgedal, but you know, so we got to see kind of what Telemark looked like in the 1860s, and both of us, I think, are pretty interested in that. But when I talked to you before we got on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, you mentioned you were researching the single pole in skiing, and you know, with telemarkers, a lot of times people think that the lurk, as they call it here, you know, they think that's sort of what it was like in Telemark in the beginning. And I've written some small articles about the fact that the people in Morgedal didn't actually use long poles. But I wanted to get, could you share with us a little bit, just like what you're researching? Because obviously that the single pole has a lot of history in alpine skiing too, and I believe it was an Austrian too that sort of developed that technique, if I remember right. But I was curious if you want to share a little bit.
That was Matthias Starsky, and he used this one pole, single pole, Einstock, Alpenlanze, Einstock, as a one pole, single pole, and he used it in different ways. The one is like the snowshoe Thompson. The snowshoe Thompson, you know, he used it as a balance, for balance, left and right, and he was like a pedal, left and right, like swinging like an eagle. Yeah, Paulson was describing it very well. So, and Starsky, he said, he was the first person who was like biomechanics. He said, if you put the ski edging up, you know, and if the tip gets with contact, that the shovel goes in the direction. And if you put the weight down, the Telemark, you know, the what's called wide, narrow, wide, and if you give a pressure, it makes more or less radius. Fantastic. And if you put with the pole some contact, It makes also effort. So you have 4 efforts to make a turn they go to one side. Shovel, pressure, leaning in, and pole. So you have a turning movement with the pole. It depends. You set it sideways, more backwards, more outside. Depends. So you have the pole as a steering help. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, so he was using it more like a steering tool, and
he said he actually said also he want like to touch, just to touch, and if you need it, you go down, you take it, okay, right on the mountainside, hillside, backwards, outside, yes. So it's ridiculous to take it on the well side,
Right.
You can do, you can wear it anywhere. You can lift it straight up, No, so this pole, and there is some sort of revival in using poles. Per Ståle is one of these apostles, and we like when we're skiing nostalgic. We take one pole like this, but the modern Telemark, sometimes they like a lurk, okay? The pole, the lurk was originally in one hand, you have some twigs, some flowers, this was lurk, okay? And to have on one side the pole, they now say lurk.
Right, that's what
it's some sort of revival.
Yeah, that's what I thought was interesting is going back to Morgedal. That was like one of the real takeaways I had was when we went through the museum and we got to ski on the old skis is the single pole from the people in Morgedal was short. It wasn't like what modern day people think, oh, there's this long pole, and like you said, sometimes it would just be like a twig in your hand to show balance, so I always thought that was kind of funny that in this revival you're sort of seeing long poles.
Is about as tall as you, for I think 2 meters, something like this, yeah. This poles we saw them in Morgedal, I think about 2 meters, and 2 meters, 220 is they use it now. It is more like for fun,
right?
But it has a biomechanical purpose. If you get the touch, it helps you to turn.
One. I wonder if you'd seen this too. When I was researching this years ago, I actually came across there was a single pole used, I believe, in Finland or maybe Lapland and Sweden, where it actually had like a little, the end on it allowed you to break through the ice so that you could get water. Have you read about that? That was
it's to different purposes, to go down and to in the Alps, they can in the glaciers, is there a crevasse or not? Okay, to check. And on the lakes, to make a hole and to go down with the fishing stuff. Yeah,
that's an interesting ski pole. going out ice fishing after you make some turns.
Ice fishing down. Yeah, it's funny, and therefore Saskia has an iron, if about 8 centimeters long iron pick, and also Nansen was with one pole. He had two one-polers, one for making to step away, and the other one with a hook on top to cut the ice or something,
you're talking about Nansen that went to was it North Pole or South Pole?
He Nansen was going to North Pole. He was going over in 89. He was crossing Iceland, Greenland. Greenland. That was the Poshi over Greenland. That was the bomb which exploded in skiing. And they read it in the coffee shops, they read it in the newspapers. Hey, this Nansen, Dr. Nansen, he went up to Greenland. Later on, he went up to North Pole. And he was, I think he was also, he was ambassador in Armenia. He was a scientist. He was also, I think, what's called Nobel Prize. He got a Nobel Prize for peace or something. He was a very interesting man. And I have a picture when he was in Petersburg, what's called Leningrad, when he was ice sailing. He had two sticks, crossed sticks with sails. Snow sailing.
Wow.
In Marmot Lake, 2009, I made a research and a lecture about snow sailing. Fantastic.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I guess as we're kind of wrapping up, like I wanted to, I love how you said, kind of in your area, you're passing things on to the next generation to organize. And I'm curious your thoughts. Where do you think Telemark's going to go in the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years? I mean, from someone who's researched history so much, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, the development in skis and bindings is interesting. So it helps to make it in the effort closer to ski and snowboard. So the people looking at Telemark say, "Oh, interesting! It's harmony. Oh, fantastic! They're going down moguls. They're going snowboard. They're going through the deep snow and the steep." And they're seeing films, looking about films. So the borders between the disciplines are much smaller. So almost all alpine racers using Telemark technique as a training. And sometimes like Hermann Mayer and Walchhofer Michi and these guys at that time, they used it when there was time between the races because it was too boring or something. So they hooked up with Telemark. And the racers, the trainers, they know about Telemarks, and they have now the equipment to do modern equipment. Two pinners equipment, and good shoes and NTN binding or something like this. Plastic boots, good boots, crispy or what do we have? Azul is dead. Garmont, now it's Scott to Garmont. Yeah. So it is from the equipment here. The equipment is closer to the alpine equipment, which is, it's not leather ones. It is a good combination to guide the skis, to lead the skis wherever you want. So I see now it is real skiing, and difference from alpine. You ski from bottom up. You feel the terrain. You feel the terrain. If you're too much front, too much back, you have your problem. In alpine, you have 1 meter to get a hold on, not to get down on your nose. So there is something special still for Telemark. It's a small section, but the section is with modern equipment is a good, small, interesting, harmonic future.
I love that. That's cool. It's a beautiful thing, and I think the people that try it and end up loving it. It's a passion that we can all share, no matter where we live. And I think you described it in a really great way. Well, my brother, I really appreciate you coming on. Thanks for taking the time to do the podcast. And I guess if people are interested in, I guess just to end, I wanted to say, like, do you have any other little history, Telemark or ski history you want to share before I let you go? Or whatever you're working on. I'm always interested to hear what you're working on. You've always got some interesting thing going on.
There's something. The next Congress will be held now in May. It's a Aisha Congress, I think, in Bavaria now. The third time shifted from the Corona to May. There will be this one pole thing. And Luca Gasparini from Italy, and together with Bob Mazzari, they are working on the next Telemark journal. And the one, I think there is in some very historical thing about skiing on Monte Rosa, the first film. And I also have something with the first biomechanical research between Telemark, the measurements between alpine skiing and Telemark. But this is, the next Telemark journal will be 4 stations. The one is Japan. The other one is, I think, Mammoth Lakes, when I skied with Susie Chaffee and friends. And the next is Alta in China, when it was the oldest paintings, and before fixed heels, everything, everybody was with free heel. So we free heels have a long history. So there are some stations wherever had been some historical connections. Next Telemark journal.
I love that. Well, I'll try to put some links to that stuff and where people can find that. And we've had Luca on, so maybe I'll link to that podcast too, so people can listen. But Arno, thank you so much, man, for coming on and talking and sharing all your wisdom. I really appreciated the conversation, and we'll definitely have you on again in the future. I love talking to you.
Now I'm in Hollabrunn. Christmas, we start to go to Kitzbühel, our second home, doing some skiing. We're still in lockdown, actually, but I don't care. We go out, we go out.
Get some go get some fresh air.
I don't go to the disco anymore. I don't go to the blah blah blah. So I ski for my own. I go cross country skiing, walking, hiking up the Alms back on my house in Kitzbühel in Tirol. So I don't feel so much with the lockdown.
I love that. Make sure you get some fresh air and some walking on your skis. I love that.
Now I'm very much. I gave you some writing. I wrote something for you. I think I sent you this one picture. But my intention is now the Hollabrunn forest, where we did in the last 11 years much research about ornithology, birds, bats. I made the geology and botanics. So this is very interesting to keep this beautiful Hollabrunn woods keep alive.
Oh, I love
and
that.
We kept off. They wanted to make 14 windmills. So we have been able to stop it.
And save that forest.
Yeah, we saved this forest, actually. Yeah. And now we have friends.
I love that. You'll have to send me some more info.
Freunde des Hollabrunner Waldes. Friends of Hollabrunn Woods. It's called now the club. The grüne Lunge, the green lung of this wine area. And now we are part of the green belt through Europe.
Oh, beautiful! Hello, look at you. You're Mr. Active. You got a lot going on, my friend, for being in your 80s. I love it.
Yeah, I'm mostly short of time.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm busy. It's good. It keeps me, but I can do whatever I want. I'm more free than before.
I love that. Well, you sound good, and yeah, make sure to get outside, get some fresh air, get those skis on, and thanks again, Dankeschön.
Dankeschön. Yes, thank you. Thanks. It was nice to talk to you, and I hope you have a good time, good family, and yeah, Merry Christmas.
Thank you. All right, brother. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.
Alrighty. Arno, the man, the myth, the legend, such a rad dude, and I love getting into little history talks with him. I realize how much of a maybe the surface area Telemark ski historian I really truly am, because we obviously were just doing audio on this, but I was talking to him the other day on like a Zoom call, and I could see some of the books. I mean, he literally has stacks of books and movies in different languages and all sorts of stuff. So he's really his research goes deep, and I admire that a lot. But such a great conversation. I love talking to people that have seen so much, and you think about how much skiing in general in the mountains and things have changed since 1940 when he was born. And especially, him being born in 1940, what a wild experience to be in Europe at that time. And I'm glad he shared just a little bit about that with his family history and things of that nature. Super interesting. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. I had a great time chatting with Arno. I hadn't seen him since being in Morgedal, and getting to chat with him and learn more about what he's up to these days has been fantastic. So be sure to check the show notes if you need any of the event stuff that we talked about in the beginning of the show. Obviously, sign up for the mailing list. We've got those going out every week from the shop, and kind of keeps you in the loop with all the information with product arrivals, new stuff, and whatnot. If you need anything in terms of product, freeheellife.com, or the shop's open Tuesday through Saturday in Salt Lake City. Be sure to, reach out if you need anything, customer service at freeheellife.com. I know the crew's catching up from some holiday stuff, and just all your support is amazing, but sometimes we have a hard time keeping up, so be sure to be patient, and everyone will do their best to get back to you as quickly as they can. And we're happy to answer your questions and be of service to you as our Telemark family. So if you're looking for more things along the lines of articles, gear reviews, and more, of course, telemarkskier.com. Telemark Skier Magazine is the premier source for all that stuff. There's free content on there, archived content. We would love for you to be a subscriber and be part of that side of the Freeheel Life family as well. Other than that, grateful for you listeners out there, and grateful for the feedback. You can always reach out to me direct, podcast at freeheellife.com. If you have questions, I haven't had to do a mailbag episode in a while, so if you got something I want to dig into, send your questions, podcast at freeheellife.com, and I'll make a little episode out of it. But y'all rock, and I'm stoked we got another episode out the door. Hope you have a great week, and until next week, spread Telemark always, my friends. Peace out.